What's going on, YouTube? I thought you guys might get a kick out of this one. So I've said it in other videos, I love Llumar's film. Looks great, performs great, lasts forever it seems like. But I have one complaint. It is almost always a nightmare to try and hand cut when I have to hand cut. We're gonna see if this window does it. I just finished this window and it was a struggle. So I thought, well, maybe it'll be funny just to let people watch me sit here and fight with this stuff while I'm trying to get this pattern cut. And the biggest problem I have is they roll their film so it curls away from the car. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but I'm sure there's some highly technical reason why it's different than every other manufacturer's film. Now that is kind of nice because when you install it on the inside of the glass, it is rolling towards the glass. I've had some films in the past where you would install it on the glass, it would start curling off on the inside, which is probably a lot worse than what we're dealing with here. But so let's see if it's gonna do this to me on this side. Essentially what was happening is this whole top just kept curling off every look. Now it's gonna make me look like an idiot because now it's gonna work just fine. But I don't know, we'll see what happens. If anything, I got a couple other things I can talk to you about while we're cutting this. So my standard process for hand cutting door windows: cut the front, cut the bottom, bump it forward about a 1/4 inch. That'll kind of vary by car, but usually I end up about a 1/4 inch. After bump it forward, bump it down, cut the back side. I'm gonna turn this truck on. This is Llumar's IRX film in a 30%. Amazing film. I've been getting nothing but good compliments from people on its performance, its clarity, super good stuff. But yeah, so I guess it was just the other window that wanted to fight with me. You want to make sure it's not stuck to the top right there. When you roll it down, it'll kind of drag your film with it. I'm gonna bump this down a little bit. Yeah, never mind. I guess I don't get to show you. We'll save it for another car. But this actually went a lot smoother. The other one, I'd be cutting over here on this side and the other side was falling off, and vice versa. Right. But one of the things I wanted to kind of keep this video rolling real quick is I have yet to show you guys what a laminated door window is. I talked about it in my last Ram video, but that one had tempered glass. A lot of these Rams and a lot of the newer vehicles in general have a laminated glass, and a lot of that's to do with sound insulation and just trying to make the vehicles quieter. It also helps them a little bit safer in an accident. You don't have a bunch of glass falling in on you. The other thing you don't have is, like, somebody throws a rock at the window while you're in the car, it'll keep that rock from penetrating into the vehicle most of the time. So what you have, hopefully we can see it on the video here, you have two layers of what's an annealed glass, and in the middle here you have a vinyl lamination, and that's kind of, it's more constructed like how a windshield is. So you do have to treat it a little bit differently. The lamination can melt if you get it too hot. Ooh, bless me, I'm sorry. I think it's starting to get to be hay fever season, and all the bodily functions are starting to fire up. But so needless to say, we have to treat laminated glass differently. The one thing I will say, laminated glass likes to scratch easier. I feel it's a lot softer. So I definitely never, even when I'm trying to remove film and if we're cleaning up leftover adhesive, I never take a razor blade to these laminated windows. Razor blades, a lot of times it leaves these like microscopic scratches to where they're not super obvious until you get them in the right lighting, and then you can see where that razor blade went ahead and made just you know, millions, thousands, whatever, of tiny little scratches. The other thing we don't do is we don't overheat the glass. You can melt the lamination. The annealed glass seems to be a little bit more prone to stress breaking. If you get it really hot, it'll just pop and make a big old mess. Not a mess like tempered glass where it explodes, but a mess for life in general, because door window for one of these probably $300-400 if I had to guess. And lately glass inventories have been extremely low, so you might break a window that nobody anywhere near you has, and that's a sticky situation, I guess. The upside is if it were to break, I mean, it's still a functional window until you can find something. But if you're conscious of what you're doing in the first place. Now watch this. Okay, we're gonna take a clean part of the towel. This is one of the reasons why I scrub the tops on these things. Watch this. You see that dirt? That's one thing laminated glass does a little bit different than the tempered glass. It stores a lot of dirt along that little top ridge where the three layers sort of come together. And so you kind of have to be mindful of that in your prep. And so I like to clean as much of that off as possible in case any water gets on the top, makes its way sort of down into our work area. It's just one less thing we gotta worry about. So let's clean down the sides. A little bit dirty of a truck. Maybe they use this thing. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna squeegee away our, what is that? Squeegee away our scrubbing. Let's give it one more. But let me just show you how I handle, you know, a lot of the videos you see me torch the top on these door windows. Can't do that on the laminated glass, because by the time you get it hot enough to get your glass start sticking, that outside layer might be so hot that it just starts bubbling the lamination, breaking the glass, things like that. So what I like to do on these is I will heat the inside with a heat gun, and just kind of get it started to tack up. And then what you're doing is you're heating the film and the film's adhesive instead of heating the surface that the adhesive is attaching to. And you can do that on tempered glass. It's not an issue. Just to me, it's easier to heat the outside with a torch. I don't know. I always try to keep a heat gun out of the inside of a vehicle as much as possible. You just never know what's gonna happen. You get a little too close to a rubber molding or a piece of plastic and might melt it. Heat gun slip out of your hand, bump a door panel. Now you've melted a door panel. So I'm a very cautious person when it comes to what I do with that heat gun. We actually had an employee one time that he was working on a windshield and the molding wasn't quite working with him, so he's like, well, I'll just use this heat gun. We'll heat up this molding a little bit, try to straighten it out. And he heats the molding and he sets the heat gun down, and well, he set the heat gun down on the seat. Not a super smart idea. Then he goes to the other side of the car and he heats the molding and he sets the heat gun down on the seat. And guess what happened? We had to pay to get 2 new seat covers reupholstered for that car. And it wasn't even a very good car. It was like a Ford Escort or something. Probably cost more for seat covers than the car. But you know, if you screw stuff up, well, you gotta make it right. So let's just check the outside here. Yeah, we're good, we're good. So go ahead, let me just make sure we're tacked down. Get as much of that water out before we do this. Bump that up a little bit so we got a nice close edge up there. And then we'll take our heat gun and we just heat the inside instead of the outside. This does take a little bit longer. I like to keep moving it around, make sure we don't stay in one place too long. The reason being, you've seen in other videos how I shrink the tint. Well, if you keep this heat gun on the tint too long, you're gonna shrink it, and that would be super inconvenient. So after we've made a few passes with the heat gun, what we'll do is we'll just kind of take our finger here and see if that tint's still moving. If it's not moving, we're good. If it's still kind of wiggling a little bit when you go up and down, heat it just a little bit more. And just like I said, be careful. Wherever that tip goes, you always run a potential burning something. So keep that away from anything you don't want to burn, and or melt, warp. Let's see. So we'll finish this up real quick. Just give it top now that it's tacked down. One more nice hard pass. Get the water out of our corners. All right. And we're done. So just to recap, that's how we address laminated door windows on cars. If you thought it was helpful, shoot me a like. If you like seeing some of these tips or ways I address vehicles, please subscribe, and I'll try to keep bringing things that I find interesting in the tint world. Thank you.